how to stop feeling negative emotions. We all experience them, probably even on a daily basis. But what can we do about them? Find out in this episode. There's always some sort of problem or issue that we have in our lives. And oftentimes, it's not even the problem that's the issue, it's how we feel about the problem. You may be doing something and you're feeling stressed about it, like there's an issue, maybe there's some bills to pay, maybe something you planned for went left, and now you're just like feeling this emotion of stress or fear or anger. Maybe someone's done something, and notice that it's not necessarily the actual situation, it's the emotion that the situation has evoked, the negative emotion that the situation has evoked. And this causes a lot of the time mental burnout. You may start indulging in habits, we got the binge eating or other stuff that's unhealthy, things that you use to numb yourself. All of this stuff starts to come in because of these negative emotions that we're feeling. And even procrastination is another big one, where people are wanting to work towards a goal but they're either too tired, too stressed, etc, etc. And oftentimes we've had those moments where we wake up at the wrong side of the bed, and so everything just seems a mess, everything seems stressful. When you're stressed, everything kind of gets a bit annoying. The same things you would do on another day where you maybe feel more happier or more peaceful, you don't mind it, you might even enjoy that task. But now that the feeling of stress is there already in your body, it's like, oh, this thing again. And we're going to look at 2 reasons as to why we feel negative emotions, and those in itself contain a solution, but also we have a more concrete, practical solution at the end. And the first thing is resistance. The number one reason we feel negative emotion is because of resistance to that emotion, which can be conscious or unconscious. When I talk about conscious, yes, literally calling an emotion negative, you are consciously creating resistance to it. You're saying, oh, I judge this emotion, I feel it and I don't want to feel it. But the thing is, it exists already within you, so you can't push it outside of you in any way. It's here already. All we can do is accept it. And ironically, it's the accepting and being okay with that emotion being there, which allows emotion to change, to shift, to feel and turn into a more positive emotion. A lot of people get spooked out, especially in the law of attraction space, where it's like, oh, I need to focus on positive, I need to focus on what I want to manifest. And it's almost looked down upon when you have a negative emotion, quote unquote negative emotion. But the thing is, we're not focusing on the emotion itself, we're focusing on acceptance, which is a more transcendental type of vibration. Acceptance is you opening the door or opening the flow to receive seamlessly what it is that you want. So that's the conscious side of it, where we consciously label negative or emotions as negative or positive. When you come to a complete acceptance of it all, that's where true freedom starts to take place. And the second type is unconscious resistance. So yes, we can stop calling emotions negative, but still there's going to be some resistance inside. And this is often from emotions that have been buried already, that have been trapped in our body from what's happened in the past. Could be trauma and other things. Basically moments in our life where we experienced such a level of emotion where it was too much for us to cope with. And so the best solution that we kind of defaulted unconsciously or subconsciously at that time was to cut ourselves off from it, was to just split ourselves, bury it, and leave it away. And so then when we come across certain triggers in our life that evoke these emotions, again we have this resistance, this background of like, I don't want to feel this. And that's because it reminds you of that moment where, well, I couldn't actually handle that emotion. And so for that, a deeper level of work needs to be done in building, again, your presence to be able to be present with that feeling or emotion. And it's not an overnight thing with some of these heavier things. It's more of like you building a muscle of how much of that emotion that you can sit with. And again, not inside, not being enmeshed with that emotion, just holding the space for it. And so a lot of the times when we go through emotions and it's like, oh, why is this happening again? Or I don't want to feel this. You can change your mindset, but if it's buried deeper inside, there's a little extra work that needs to be done. Now on to the second reason why we feel negative emotion is identification. A lot of the times we say, I am angry, I am sad, I am this, I am that. And those words, I am, are very powerful words. So you're then identifying yourself with the anger by saying, I am angry, I am this anger, is essentially what you're saying. And so a quick tweak could be to say that I am experiencing anger, I am experiencing sadness. That automatically shifts the power into you not identifying as the emotion, but the space in which the emotion exists. And you being the space that the emotion exists within, you can give it as much space as the emotion needs. Even right now, if you're feeling something uncomfortable, feel the space that's behind and around this emotion. And watch how much more manageable this feeling feels. And automatically the resistance to that emotion gets released because you're no longer feeling so tight and the emotion doesn't feel so intense. And another way that we identify is attaching the stories with the emotion. Especially if something's happened, someone's wronged you, or just there's a experience that wasn't the best that's happened to you before. And the story replays on repeat in your mind that, oh, so-and-so did this, oh, every time I do this, this happens. And we try to use our thoughts to, in some way, move past this emotion that comes up again and again repeatedly. But the thing is, emotions come before thought. So the feelings related to that story is what keeps that story kind of glued or stuck into place. And so as that famous quote goes by Albert Einstein, that you can't solve a problem at the level that it was created, paraphrasing. Instead of trying to think your way through, again, we got to recognize it's not the story that's actually the issue, it's what we feel about the story. And so again, we got to take a step back and look at the emotion that we're feeling, what emotion it is, what do we feel this emotion means about us, what prior times in my life have I experienced this emotion. And look, I understand, like, a lot of the times, especially if someone's wronged you in a situation, you're like, no, I need to resolve this, I need to know why they did certain things, etc, etc. But to that you got to ask, well, what do you actually want? Do you want the result of not feeling anymore what you're feeling? Or do you want to just continuously ruminate on this story? Because chances are, once you deal with the emotion, one, you're not going to care about the story, but two, those answers you're looking for, you're actually going to receive. In fact, you know the answers already, but the emotion hasn't been resolved. And so that emotion keeps triggering up this memory, or rather this memory keeps triggering this emotion to highlight, hey, something needs healing over here, something needs addressing. And so those are the two major ways to shift from no longer experiencing negative emotion to just experiencing emotion itself. And to do this, I have a free meditation on my website, and it's my emotional healing bundle, one of 4. And this one is just called emotional presence practice. So essentially what we're doing is learning to build our presence and ability to be with an emotion. It's kind of like you're going to the gym. You start off and you can only lift like 5 kgs with dumbbells, and then slowly you move to 10 kgs, and now that 5 kg weight becomes really effortless. So similarly, what happens is, as we use this meditation, which is designed a specific way to build your muscle of presence with difficult feelings, you build your capacity. So now you can, instead of handle 5 kgs worth of stress, you can handle 10 kgs worth of stress. And so that those things in your life that produce 2, 3, 4, 5 kgs worth of stress no longer is able to throw you off balance. You can remain peaceful, you can remain present, you can act fast but not in a hurry, because you built this muscle of presence. And what's slowly happening is we're disidentifying from the feeling and re-identifying as the space in which the feeling exists. Again, this is where we hold our power in our presence. Once we know that, oh, we are prior to these feelings, that we come before these feelings, and all we need to do is give more space to them, then imagine how, if we enlarge this capacity, how many things in life become smoother, because we no longer have to contract when we feel something that is a bit more tougher to experience. We no longer have to condense ourselves or feel trapped when we're in situations that make us feel uncomfortable, because we've built this muscle of presence. And this is one of the key practices when it comes to enlightenment, because again, a lot of the times we try skip and just go straight into being in the present moment all the time. We try to use non-duality as a philosophy rather than a reality, meaning we say that, okay, there's no positive, there's no negative, it just is. However, like I mentioned before, a lot of these emotions are like glue that get stuck in place. So we got to remove the glue slowly, and without you having to force yourself to be present. You'll be present without having to force yourself to feel freedom. You'll feel free naturally. And so those are the key points. Just to summarize, there's 2 main reasons that we experience negative emotions. One is resistance, to where we don't want to feel what we're feeling and we label it as negative, which again was like we're trying to push it away, which we can't do because it exists within us. And also we have the unconscious resistance, to where certain things may have happened in the past which cause us to, without even us realizing, not want to feel a certain feeling. And then second, we have identification. One part of that is saying that I am angry, I am sad, identifying as the anger, as the sadness, as the anxiousness, instead of recognizing, oh no, I am not angry, I am experiencing anger, I'm experiencing the energy or the feeling of sadness, which shifts the power dynamic to you being the space, remembering that you're the space in which the feeling exists rather than the feeling. And also it's the stories that we attached to the feelings. The reasons the stories keep coming up is to remind us that, hey, there's a feeling within us that still needs healing. Of course, certain things will take longer than others to work through, to heal through. But that story is going to keep replaying in a loop, and no matter how hard you think about it, you won't come to a resolve until you resolve the feeling behind it. then naturally you're going to realize that you already knew what was going on and the story no longer bothers you. Simple as that. And the solution I've offered is emotional presence practice. It's part of a free bundle, the emotional healing bundle that I have on my website, where you can learn to be present and build your muscle of presence. So slowly you start processing the feelings that are going on, and you start to disidentify yourself from feelings and as the space, re-identifying yourself as the space in which these feelings exist. So that's it for today. I hope this served you well. If it has, like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next video.